often catch myself going back to those early years, wondering why life felt so different back then. Not just the world around us, but the way we were taught to see our future. Because back then, success looked simple, almost like a perfect blueprint. You grew up, worked hard, and sooner or later, you found the right person and settled down. That was the image. That was the finish line. Or at least, that's what we were told. As a young man, I never stopped to question it. It wasn't something you analyzed. It was something you accepted. Relationships weren't just part of life. They were proof that your life was going right. If you stayed single too long, people started wondering. And if you chose to stay unattached, they didn't know what to make of you. And I believed it, all of it. Like most men of my generation, I saw commitment as a step up, a level higher. A sign that you had finally become more complete, more stable, more what a man was supposed to be. It wasn't just about love. It was about identity. But here's the part no one ever really explained, why this path was supposed to work so perfectly. We didn't question it. We absorbed it. From stories, from conversations, from everything around us. It felt natural, almost unavoidable. And looking back now, I don't see that younger version of myself as naive. I see him as honest. He truly believed he was moving towards something better. And for a long time, I believed that too. But time has a way of changing things. Years pass. Experiences stack up. You don't just watch your own life. You start noticing everyone else's too. And slowly, without any noise, questions begin to appear. Not from anger, not from regret, but from something much deeper, reflection. At first, it's barely noticeable, but once it starts, it doesn't stop. Here's something no one tells you. The shift doesn't happen all at once. There's no warning, no big moment. Just one day, you start seeing things differently. The beliefs you once held with certainty don't feel so solid anymore, because now they've been tested. Not in theory, but in real life. Through choices, consequences, and years you can't get back. You begin to notice patterns you couldn't see before. Limits you once ignored become impossible to miss. And the warnings you used to dismiss as negativity suddenly sound like truth that just arrived too late. That's when it hits you. Those older men weren't bitter. They were trying to explain something you could only understand by living it. Because the version of relationships you were sold, it promised growth, meaning fulfillment. And sometimes it delivers just enough to keep you believing. But the full reality is quieter, more complex. Over time, you start to see the trade-offs, the small compromises, the subtle shift where your choices don't fully feel like yours anymore. And it's not because anyone is trying to control you. It's simply the nature of a shared life. It moves differently. It demands alignment. And alignment always comes at a cost. What's strange is when this realization finally settles in, it doesn't feel shocking. It feels familiar, like something you always knew but never faced. And the truth is, many men arrive at this point alone without ever comparing notes. Because we were all given the same script. Build your life. Find a partner, settle down, and everything else will fall into place. And if it doesn't, then the fault must be yours. But what if the problem was never you? What if the story itself was incomplete? What if the life you followed perfectly was never designed to fulfill you? No mistakes, no wrong turns. You did everything right, and yet something still feels slightly off. That's the part no one prepares you for. Because the tension doesn't show up early. It builds quietly over time. Years later, you start noticing it, that subtle gap between what you were promised and what you actually feel. And for the first time, the question changes. It's no longer, what did I do wrong? It becomes something deeper. Was I ever shown the full picture? And that realization, it doesn't break you. It frees you. Because suddenly, you start seeing what was missing all along, autonomy. Not the loud, rebellious kind, but the quiet kind. The ability to decide how your time is spent without negotiation. To move through your day with clarity, not compromise. To wake up knowing your energy belongs entirely to you. And once you feel that rhythm, everything changes. Your days become intentional. Your focus sharpens. Your life starts aligning, not with expectations, but with your own values. Even money begins to feel different, because it's no longer stretched between competing visions. No silent pressure. No constant recalibration. Just clarity. Every decision has a purpose you chose. And that kind of financial quiet, it doesn't inflate your ego, it settles your mind. But the real shift goes deeper than time or money. It's in your decisions, how you spend your mornings, what you choose to build, where your energy flows. Because when your choices are fully yours, progress accelerates. Every step compounds. Every effort builds forward. And then there's something most men don't expect, emotional strength. When you stand alone, there's no buffer. No one else managing your stress, your reactions, your balance. So you learn. You adapt. You become steady. Not because life is easy, but because you've trained yourself to handle it. That's where real confidence comes from. Not validation, but self-mastery. And ironically, this is where life becomes richer, not emptier. Friendships feel real. Experiences feel alive. Time with others becomes a choice, not an obligation. You travel because you want to. You connect because it matters, not because it's expected. Even the idea of legacy starts to shift. It's no longer about following a default path. It becomes intentional. What you build, what you contribute, what you leave behind. Because in the end, life was never meant to be a template. It's a canvas. And most people never realize they're allowed to design it. But once you do, everything changes. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop following and start choosing. And that's where the real reward is. Not in approval, not in expectation, but in something much quieter. Control, clarity, peace. So let me ask you something. If every decision in your life reflected only your priorities, what would your life actually look like?